Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope wherever you may find yourself across the country, across the globe, across the world, that you are having a fantastic Wednesday afternoon. We have got a lot to get to, but before we get rolling any further, I want to tell you, make sure you go to Sportsbook Review right now. Get the best numbers out there for both college football and the NFL. I'm about to run through with you all 12 of my best gambling picks, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it because we're going to get rich kids and we're going to go 12-0. I also want to tell you that make sure that if you have credit card debt, you wipe it out in one fell swoop thanks to my guy Ryan Kelly at The Home Loan Expert. Go to The Home Loan Expert today. And if you do, you will be glad that you did, because he'll wipe out all your credit card debt if you own a home and give you the best possible deal. All right, I'm going to dive right into this. I am utterly fascinated by everything surrounding this Serena Williams mess. It is a complete media failure in virtually every respect. And I want to walk you through why I believe it is a total media failure, okay? First, let's start here. Serena Williams was not mistreated because she is a woman. The fact that the sports media all applauded when she blamed sexism for the way she was treated gives you a strong indication of where their bias actually lies. Serena Williams, much like a baseball, basketball, football, or male tennis player or any other athlete, lost her cool and as a result, yelled at an umpire. Now, I'm not going to tell you I haven't yelled at an umpire in my life, in my limited high-end athletic career. Chances are most of you have as well. The difference is I did not then say, as a father of children, I would never cheat. And I certainly didn't after that go on and explain myself and say, yes, I was in the wrong, but the reason that we should really be focusing on this story is because I'm a woman and I wasn't treated fairly. That's a joke. That's an utter and complete joke. Sometimes, I know this shocks people in a social media era where everybody wants for there to be always a hero and always a villain. Sometimes nuance requires you to say, maybe Serena Williams didn't behave perfectly initially, and maybe the umpire didn't behave perfectly either. Maybe there's a little bit of flaw on both sides, and then Serena Williams took it to a different level and used her fame to belittle a guy that nobody knew, right? And we are in such a strange universe that articles like this start to be written. And this is a big part of my new book, which will be out in a couple of weeks, called Republicans Buy Sneakers Too. Look at what the Washington Post has an op-ed up about today. The title is, What Serena Williams' Defeat Tells Us About the Criminal Justice System. Can you guys see that? I just tweeted it out. This is the Washington Post. They tweeted it out first. One of you shared it with me on my Twitter account, which is why I love Twitter. And I'm not kidding. What Serena Williams' defeat tells us about the criminal justice system is an op-ed article in the Washington Post today, one of our nation's most esteemed newspapers. Now, to be fair, you guys are having a lot of fun with this. Here are several responses directly beneath that question. What does Jimmy Garoppolo throwing 3 INTs on Sunday tell us about border security legislation? What does the Dodgers push for the NL West title tell us about the opioid epidemic? What Andrew Luck's shoulder tells us about creationism. Lots of really good stuff. What does the Urban Meyer penalty have in common with the Syrian conflict? What does hockey in the South have to do with world peace? All of you are recognizing how absurd this is, but I think it's emblematic of what is happening in our culture today, which is everyone is trying to politicize sports. They are trying to take things that are clearly sports stories, Serena Williams losing her mind, and losing a tennis match and blaming sexism, and turning it into a lens through which to view their larger political arena, almost always from a far left perspective. The reality is Serena Williams losing a tennis match to another minority tennis player while being judged by a minority judge tells us absolutely nothing at all about the modern day criminal justice system, okay? And the fact that anybody would even think to make that argument is an example of far left-wing mad libs, all right? It's just a ridiculous situation that we have found ourselves in. Now, on top of this, a cartoonist who specializes in caricature made fun of Serena Williams as he has made fun of many other famous people, and he used her physical characteristics, as cartoonists do, to create a caricature based on Serena Williams. Most of the time, when outrage ensues, what happens? The person who has created the outrage apologizes. You might hate me, but so far in my life, I have never apologized for anything I've ever said or written, right? That's because it's my belief that you shouldn't apologize for things that you intentionally did. So far, I have never accidentally published an article. I have never accidentally published a tweet. I have never apologized for what I said or wrote or anything else because I haven't inadvertently said anything or published something, right? I don't think you should apologize when you make a choice to intentionally do something. This is great. I want to give credit to this newspaper for the decision that they made. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see it, but the newspaper that got all people worked up was this Herald Sun newspaper down in Australia. And I'm going to hold this up for you. Australian newspaper under fire for Serena cartoon responds with epic front page featuring other cartoons of famous people they have satirized. All right, can you guys see this? You need to go follow my Twitter feed if you can. I'm going to show it to Facebook first. I'm going to show it down here to you guys. You may not be able to see it perfectly, but go to my Twitter feed, scroll down, and you'll be able to see it. They have made fun of everybody in prominence in Australia. Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump, Kim Jong-un, and the way this works is they satirize the physical characteristics of someone. So if you have big ears in the cartoon, you're going to have even bigger ears. If you have really huge hair in the cartoon, you're going to have even more ridiculous hair. If you are fat in the cartoon, you're going to be even fatter than you are in real life. The reason why satirical cartoonists exist is to puncture the ego of the super famous and try to bring them back down to earth. It is a characteristic that has existed in Western civilization politics for as long as I can remember, and certainly all the way back in American politics to the earliest days of our republic when cartoonists regularly satirized really popular people, right? George Washington, satirized. Abraham Lincoln, satirized. And they were made fun of based on their physical characteristics to a certain extent. Barack Obama was mocked by cartoonists as well. And this raises, I think, an interesting question. First of all, I want to give props to the Australian newspaper that made the decision to continue to not run from criticism on the internet and did a front page putting all of the cartoons they have done. I am a free speech absolutist. I believe when you decide to satirize something, whether it's the Prophet Muhammad, whether it's Jesus, whether it's the President of the United States, whether it's the Prime Minister of Canada, whoever it is, you have to apply the same satirical standard to everyone, regardless of their race, regardless of their gender, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their sexual orientation. I believe in a South Park-styled American and world satire where no one is treated differently based on their characteristics. Now, what we have created in this world, and this is a fascinating departure over the last 50 years, far left-wingers in this country have started to infiltrate sports, and what they are arguing for is a different standard of speech predicated on who the person is, what their identity is. I fundamentally reject that idea because I think it flies in the face of equality, and this is important. I think it also delegitimizes the attempt to equally treat everyone because it sets up special rules that exist for people based on their identity, i.e. something they cannot control. Okay? To me, this is fundamentally a major issue that we face in America today. And Serena Williams is an example of it. We have gone, in the space of 50 years, and this is the history major in me talking, from the civil rights movement being predicated on fearlessness, bravery, and a demand for inclusion and a seat at the table, to 50 years later, 50 years after some people's grandparents walked into the face of snarling dogs, were beaten, were shot at, were killed over their quest for equality. We have now created a society where everybody is so afraid of having their feelings hurt that they curl up in the fetal position and point at someone anytime something negative is said about them. That is not the way to bring about equality. That is not the way to bring about toughness in American society. I think that the far left wing is motivated by, in general, a desire to protect people. The problem is, if you protect people too much, then you end up creating an entire society filled with people who are sniveling children and cannot accept the least little bit of negativity in their day. And this is important because I think this translates way across race. I think this exists for kids in our society today. I think it exists on college campuses. I think we have raised a coddled group of people who are uncomfortable, not just with the idea of racism and sexism, which is right, but uncomfortable with anything that makes them challenge in any way their preconceived notions, or in any way makes them examine their own beliefs and challenges them to contemplate them in an intelligent fashion. Because what we have created is a zone of acceptable speech. And I see it all the time. If you even come close to that zone of acceptable speech, you're called racist, you're called sexist, you're called homophobic. I'm telling you this right now, you can't have a functional modern American society if every time you talk about uncomfortable subjects, someone who shares uncomfortable facts is immediately labeled as a racist or a sexist or a homophobe, right? I don't believe there are very many people around my own age, born around 1980, who have lived in America for most of their lives, who went to public school, who are card-carrying racist or card-carrying sexist or card-carrying homophobes, right? I think there are a variety of people who believe that everybody should be treated roughly equally. And what we have created is these zones, and it's well-intentioned, right? I'm not trying to criticize left-wingers here. I think their intention is good. But there is a difference between combating actual racism and combating Huckleberry Finn because there are uncomfortable words inside the book. There is a difference between Serena Williams being treated the exact same as the President of the United States and Kim Jong-un, to be portrayed in a negative light in a cartoon, in a caricature that mocks her based on her physical appearance and her attitude, in the same way that it would those other famous men. There is a difference between that occurring and being equally treated across the way, in the same way, frankly, that in France they made fun of the Muslim faith the same way they would have made fun of the Christian faith. And we have created this idea that people are not safe if people say mean things about them. And we have so far created a zone of speech that is unacceptable that I am unwilling and unable to accept. I have a crazy idea. I think the standards for speech and the standards for acceptable discourse should be the same for Serena Williams as they are for Donald Trump. I think if you can make fun of Kim Jong-un, you should be able to make fun of LeBron James. I think if you may make fun of Donald Trump, you should be able to make fun of Cam Newton, right? I think everybody should be treated the same. And when you are starting to argue, and I see it all the time now, different standards of speech based on different identities, American equality collapses. And what the far left wingers don't understand is that they are becoming their own worst enemy, because what's happening is you got a perpetual boy who cried wolf situation. if you constantly point and say, that's racist, that's sexist, that's unacceptable, if you criticize Matt Damon because he says, hey, there's a difference between rape and somebody's ass getting grabbed. And people are like, no, Matt Damon, that's unacceptable. And you make Matt Damon apologize, what you have eliminated is nuance. And it is in nuance that all great art is found, and also in nuance that true intelligence defines itself. There is no intelligent faction out there that creates heroes and villains constantly. That is a childlike way to view the universe. My kids constantly view animals as either good or bad, because that's how kids think when they watch Disney movies. Snake is bad. The deer is nice. Humans are complex. Sometimes we do good things. Sometimes we do bad things. And what is utterly fascinating about this is the television shows that are the most popular in this country feature nuanced, complex individuals making challenging decisions, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But in our real life, outside of fiction, we insist on dogmatic designs. People are either good or evil. Serena Williams is actually a good example of that. All right, college football gambling picks. That, my friends, is, I'm telling you, something that you should share. If you're like, hey, who's this Clay Travis guy? Dive in, be able to enjoy it. I hope I've made you a little bit smarter and made you think just a little bit, which is why I always think it's funny my critics are like, Clay Travis is so dumb, all his followers are dumb. No, I actually think that we have, on a regular basis, probably the most intelligent discussions that take place in the world of sports and beyond. And that's why I'm going to go 12-0, and that's why I'm going to make you rich. All right? Here we go. I'm going to break down all these picks. Memphis. We got killed on Memphis last weekend. Memphis, I had Memphis Navy. I had the over, and I had Memphis, and we got crushed. Mike Norvell, he rolled into Annapolis, and we got crushed. All right? Memphis minus 27. Friday night game against Georgia State. I'm going to get you the cover there. I'm going to make you rich with this game. FSU at Syracuse. Florida State's awful. Okay? Florida State has been awful for the first 2 weeks of the season. You can either bet that Florida State is going to get things fixed, or you can bet they're going to stay awful when they go on the road in Syracuse. I'm betting they're going to stay awful. They're going to score a lot of points because our boy Dino Babers only cares about scoring points. Over is going to hit, and Syracuse is going to win outright. Vandy at Notre Dame. Here's one of my blood banks. Vandy has outscored opponents so far this year. It's a big number here, 76-17. Kyle Shermer has yet to throw an interception. I think that Notre Dame is overvalued. I think Notre Dame is overvalued relative to their win over Michigan. And I think right now, okay, the play beyond a shadow of a doubt, I'm going to have to block this dude. I've seen him saying lots of dumb stuff, and I just happened to look over. I'm going to have to block you. I think Notre Dame has a chance to pull off this upset. I think Vanderbilt has a chance to pull off this upset. Notre Dame against Ball State, I think, was closer to the Notre Dame we're going to see the rest of the season. Notre Dame overvalued here. Very often Notre Dame is overvalued. All of the money is coming in on Notre Dame to cover. I'm telling you, Vandy's going to keep it close. And as a result, Vandy plus 14.5 is the play. No doubt at all here. Bama, here's my double blood bank guarantee for a game. Bama minus 20.5 at Ole Miss and the over 70. Listen, think about this. Last week, Ole Miss gave up 41 to Southern Illinois State. I didn't even know Southern Illinois State was a place. I didn't know it was a real place. They scored 41 points on Ole Miss. Last year, Alabama scored 66 points on Ole Miss with Jalen Hurts. How many points is Alabama going to score this year on Ole Miss? If they keep Tua in the game, they will score 70 or more. The over is going to hit, and Alabama is going to cover right around 3 touchdowns. This game is going to be an absolute point heaven. Points are going to rain down like crazy. The over is the play, as well as Alabama. No doubt at all about this one. Ohio State, TCU. I actually think Gary Patterson's been preparing for this game for months. I love Gary Patterson as a coach. I think that there's a very good chance this game is close in the fourth quarter. It'll make Ryan Day have to make some decisions, unlike what he's had to do against Rutgers and Oregon State in blowouts. I really like this idea right now of TCU staying close. Right now the line's right around 13. I've got TCU here. Mizzou and Purdue. Mizzou at Purdue. I love Mizzou, and I've got the over here. Purdue is 0-2. They beat Mizzou last year 35-3. Mizzou's going on the road. I'm telling you right now, Mizzou is the play. -7. I would love to get them under 7. If this number comes down in the rest of the week, right now it's sitting right at 7. If I can get 6.5, it's going to be the biggest bet that I've placed all year. If I can get 6.5, and I know I could buy it down, but I want the market to come back to me, then I'm going to buy the heck out of this game. I'm going to be all in. I'm telling you, that is a play. The over is also going to hit. The over has rolled up several points since I gave this pick out on the message board on Monday. LSU Auburn. I sat and I stared at this game a ton. What is the play for LSU Auburn? And ultimately, look, Coach O, I'm going to be honest with you, has been dunking on me like crazy. Coach O has been rising up and just dunking on me insanely over the past, whatever it is, past couple of 7-2 in his last 9. I believe that LSU is going to go to Auburn and not be able to score any points. I think that new quarterback Joe Barrow, or whatever the heck his name is going to get wrecked. I think LSU is not going to score. I like Auburn here -9.5. I like them under 10. I like them under 10, and I also like the under. Sorry, I like them under 10 for Auburn, and I like them on the under in this game. Okay, I'm telling you, last year, if you remember correctly, Auburn got up big on LSU and then fell apart late. Auburn is going to win this game, and it will be on the under, and Auburn will win, I believe, by double digits. Finally, Boise State at Oklahoma State. Some numbers for you. Boise has scored 56 and 62 so far this year. Oklahoma State has scored 58 and 55. What does that tell me? Points aplenty. And if points aplenty are going to rain down, then the over 63.5 is nowhere near high enough. Both of these teams are going to have a ton of possessions. They're going to go up and down the field. They will score a lot of points. That is my 12 gambling picks. USA got a great win last night against Mexico in Nashville. I hope Nashville gets to host a World Cup World Cup game. And I love people say, what are the numbers? The numbers constantly change. Okay, what I am telling you right now is the latest numbers. I put them up on Outkick at noon every day on Wednesday during football season. You can go look at them. USC Texas, I didn't want to touch. And by the way, we're going to have Joel Klatt on Lock It In, the new television show. We've done Monday, Tuesday. Joel's going to be on with us today. That is going to go pretty well. By the way, that is last couple of things I want to hit. David Williams is retiring as Vanderbilt athletic director. Great hire, great dude, has done tremendous work for Vanderbilt, and I think that he is going to be sorely missed. They need to get a great hire to replace him. I don't think there's any doubt at all about that. I love the idea, jokingly, of Jay Cutler becoming the next athletic director at Vanderbilt, just because I would love to see him in a press conference and love to see him in the Cavallari, whatever that new show he's on is called. I would love to see him answering questions. Mizzou is down to 6. If Mizzou is down to 6, then I've got a quadruple blood bank for you this week. I don't think Mizzou is at 6 unless it's happened in the last 3 hours. I haven't seen Mizzou at 6 anywhere. So I'm not sure exactly about that. The Hurricane, if you were watching this in North Carolina or South Carolina or Georgia, we don't know exactly where it's going to hit. It's going to hit tomorrow. I wish you the best. I've been through hurricanes. I lived in the Caribbean for several years, and I know how ugly that can be. Prepare for the worst. Hope you and your family are all going to be safe. And I wanted to give you that shout out and my best as we rolled into the weekend. A couple of things that I always say with hurricanes. Have as much gas as you can buy with your cars. Have as many different chargers all charged up so you can use your phone and so you can keep information around. A good opportunity, good option to have is a radio that is not plugged in, obviously a battery-operated radio, so that you can make sure that everything is as charged up as you can possibly have it. If you have kids, this is even more important because it is a messy situation when you have kids and it's going to be ugly, and you got to entertain those kids. Get them out of anywhere dangerous. Bring them to a different city. Stay with somebody else. It's not worth it. That would be my suggestion completely. I love all of you. Be safe in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. A lot of you are be listening to Outkick. We'll be on, obviously, in the morning regardless, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, and hopefully things will go as well as they can with the big storm coming through. I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. I will be there with you tomorrow morning, and I'll be with you on television in right at 1 hour. Go get FS1, set it up, 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, 2:30 Mountain, and 1:30 Pacific. I am Clay Travis. I will be on with you with Lock It In. We're going to have some fun. SBAP, definitely, if you're considering surfing. DBAP, otherwise. Thank all of you for coming and hanging out with me. Share the show if you like the show. I'll be with you tomorrow morning on radio, and in an hour, I'll be on your televisions on FS1. See y'all. Love you. This has been Outkick the Show.